Did you know that most women would rather talk about their own death than their finances? Well, we're here to change that. Welcome to Bixie Speak, where we speak honestly about money and share our personal stories of making it, losing it, and investing it. We focus on real situations that affect us, women, living in cities around the world. From Bangkok to Bangalore, we're just out here trying to live our best lives. But to do that, we have got to turn our finances around, from being obstacles to living our dreams to becoming opportunities to make our dreams a reality. In each episode, we tackle a typical life event in the lives of urban women the world over, and the role that money plays in either helping or harming our situation. We invite guests to share their experiences from mating and money to marriage and money to even fertility and finances. And we share our tips, tools, and strategies that have helped us. Nothing is off limits. I'm your host, Rosalia Gitao, CEO of Bixie, a financial platform aimed at helping women take control of our finances and live the life of our dreams. Full disclaimer, Bixie and Bixie Speaks is not a financial advisor and does not provide any financial advice. Rather, we're an education platform. Learn more about us and our community on www.bixie.com or download the Bixie app on Apple Store or Google Play. Welcome to the wonderful world of Bixie. So let's get into it. On today's episode, we will be talking about sometimes a very controversial topic: finance and faith. Finance and faith, finance and faith. Often we don't think of them intricately tied together, but every Sunday or Saturday, depending on your denomination, there's a little basket that is passed around your house of worship. And you feel this twinge of pressure. I remember growing up, I would feel that pressure, like, well, how much am I supposed to give? Like, how much would show that I'm, my generosity? How much does God expect me to give? How much does the church expect? How much do people need? How much do I have to give of myself without hurting myself? Like, nobody gives you guidance. I mean, there's some general guidance that people provide, like tithing, 10%. We don't know. But at the end of the day, we really don't have any concrete guidance, strategies, and actions around it, despite the fact that we are uncomfortably confronted with this at least every week, if not every day. So we're going to talk about this topic: finance and faith, the role of money in religion or whatever your faith is. So with me today, joining me today on this topic is my kid sister, Vil Wamboy Gitao. Vil is, and you might remember Vil from our episode on money and mating, where she gave some really brilliant tips. Check out that episode out. It's episode 1. Vil is an amazing woman. She's a lawyer, entrepreneur, fashionista, K-pop fan girl, and a woman of deep, deep faith, the truest kind I've seen. And she wants to share what that journey has been vis-a-vis her financial journey. So this is not going to, she will explain how she navigates what could be an uncomfortable situation every Sunday, but how she navigates that. What are some tips that work for her? And what are some strategies that have worked for her and her friends who are based in Manila, Asia's largest city? So, Wamboy, Vil, welcome to the show.
Hello again. I'm back.
Thank you so much for tackling this sometimes uncomfortable topic. I don't think a lot of people like to think about money and faith in the same breath. But all those churches and mosques and steeples, they don't pay for themselves, right? They come from somewhere. So there is a role that money plays in our faith. And so I guess that would kick off my first question to you. What role do you think money plays in your faith?
A lot of things, actually, like, first of all, this is this is my personal view, and this is how I view my money as opposed to my faith, or like not actually opposed, like in harmony with with my faith. And like you mentioned, these things like churches, mosques, or I don't know, chapels as we call them, do not operate on, they don't get anything from the government, or like subsidies or whatsoever. And that's where the role of money comes in, I think, because you have to pay for utilities, for bills, for the people who work on a full-time basis, etc., etc.
So houses of faith don't run on faith themselves. Like you actually, they actually need some revenue. Yes.
They're not exactly like a revenue,
but they need money coming in because these things aren't free. A building is not free. Electricity is not free.
Exactly, like for operations. And we also have this missions or like outreaches, which of course you need
plane tickets aren't free.
Money to operate those things. So in general, it's like it's like a household. Like it's not that you want to get an income from your household, but of course there are bills to pay, and so that's its role when it comes to like the operations itself.
Where else do you think, what role, okay, so I'll flip this around. So I just asked you, what role does money play in faith? But flip it around. What role do you think faith plays in money? And I'm bringing this up because I've been hearing a lot of babble out there. It's everywhere. I mean, you cannot open a TikTok video, YouTube video, or an Instagram post without the following word being thrown around. What is that word? Manifesting. Manifesting. It's everywhere. Everyone's out here manifesting. They're manifesting money. They're manifesting success. They're manifesting, a partner. They're manifesting everything. Manifesting, praying, putting your energies out. It's all in the same realm of trying to have faith to get a certain outcome. So what role do you think having faith has in money? Do you think faith can have a role in bringing more money? Can have a role in like not being attached to money? Can bring a role in what role can it have? I think when I think of a role of faith and money, I think of either attracting money to you, like the manifest crowd, or giving it away generously and having no attachment to it because you can, give it away to other people who need it more, right? Like, what other role do you think faith has in money, in your experience? What other role does, your faith have in your money? Or maybe you pray for good stock advice.
I'm not really a manifester or whatever you can call that. Like, I don't manifest when I don't know, because I'm an older person, like I'm in my 30s, and I think this manifesting just came out like some years ago.
I think you'd be surprised.
I'm not sure, but I'm more
feel free to comment below if you are in your 30s and also manifest.
I'm more, whenever people like ask me or tell me, oh, you're so religious and everything, I don't actually consider myself like religious, because religion is being religious is like you have a list and you have to like do it like out of obligation. I consider myself faithful in a lot of ways. Like, I have a faith, and that's what I use to to navigate life, as you mentioned, and that includes my finances. And I'm a Christian, and in our Bible, faith is defined as the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. So, your question was what is faith, or how is faith, or how is it affecting my money? So it's not that like I would like get it whatever I want. Like, I will have my money whatever I want. I will have like my wealth in like tomorrow or in the next few days. It's how do I put this? I am assured, and I have been promised that, for instance, because I practice tithing, the 10% you mentioned, and even beyond that, if I could, because, it's also part of honoring the Lord when it comes to the blessings I receive. Because, you're my sister. I'm not wealthy, but I can say that I've never been like in lack. Like I don't like think about, oh my god, how can I eat like tomorrow, or like. And this is and this has made me like appreciate more the blessings, and that's how I want to like I have faith that I will not be in lack. And that's how my faith primarily like affects how I think about money.
That's really interesting because, at Bixie, as you know, our whole financial platform is about targeting women and looking at female behaviors vis-a-vis money. And one of the most pervasive female behaviors as regards money is a scarcity mindset, right? Like this constant fear of like, I'm not going to have enough. There's not going to be enough for me and my family and all of this. And I think it's really interesting that you basically just said is the role that faith plays is it makes it such that you're not operating from a scarcity mindset perspective.
Yeah. This is because, like I said, I'm a Christian, and in our faith, money isn't something that I really own. Like for instance, I have $1 million in the bank. That's not mine. That's not mine. Like eternally, it's the Lord's. So,
by the way, when she says $1 million, she means pesos. I was going to say, you have $1 million US in the bank? Wow.
Don't come for me. So yeah, it's not the Lord. It's not mine. It's the Lord's. Like everything that I have is the Lord's. So like I have a limit. Of course, I just have like a monthly salary, and that's my limit. But my Lord has no limit. So that's how I operate That's why I don't operate on a scarcity mindset, because my God will not be scarce. I may be scarce. Things could happen. I could lose this and that, and it could affect or put a dent on my finances. But that at the end of the day, I know that my God is like a limitless God, and he's not gonna go scarce. He's not gonna go in lack.
Okay, conversely then, what keeps you from spending like crazy? I mean, if you believe that God is, has endless amounts of money and resources, what keeps you from just shopping all day?
Because also, conversely, we also have to be good stewards. Like, when somebody entrusts you with something, you just don't go out there and like splurge, buy things that, are not necessary, or like things that are illegal, for instance. That's being being a good steward of whatever has been entrusted with you. So as much as possible, I try to practice that. Like, being a good steward of what I have. Like, of course, I could do when I receive my salary. Oh, I have like this and that extra, then blah, blah,
Korean
blah.
skincare.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's really interesting. So it's almost like the role that faith has in your money is it makes you not afraid that you're going to be without, but also makes you kind of almost like budget, but not from a place of like budgeting to cut yourself off, but budgeting because you want to be a responsible steward with all of these blessings that you have. I think that's I have never heard that perspective on
really
a role of faith and money. No, I've never. I've only ever heard, a lot of manifesting, a lot of like using, faith in something to get something. I've never heard it to limit, really. That's really, really interesting. So I guess here's a question. As you just mentioned, you tithe. Tithing, for those of you who don't know, is giving 10% of your income, of your overall production, overall income, to whatever house of faith that you belong to. A lot of religions practice it, and they call it many different things. What happens? Do you think you can still be a good practitioner of faith without tithing? So for those people in the audience, so some people, we've been there, they might feel like they don't have enough money. They might be students, or they might feel like maybe they don't trust where the money is going. Can you still be a good practitioner of the faith and not give money? And if you're not giving money, what else can you give?
Tithing should be something that it's it should not come from from a position of like, you're so much like obligated, or like it will create, like friction between you and your pastor, or you and your church. It should come from a perspective of faith still. Like, when you're assured and you're confident of, of what's not seen at this point, and you can say in your heart that yes, I can do it, then do it. But if you feel that, like you mentioned, it's causing you like anxiety, or if you think that you're gonna like get a budget from from your bills or other things, and you feel that you're in lack, then I think you give yourself some time. Like, give yourself some time, like any other thing, like budgeting and all. And yeah, and I think practicing faith and generosity at the same time would also like, like come in a position of, like just being immersed more in your faith. It's not just, like, oh, I became a devout, I don't know, like Christian or a Catholic today. Tomorrow I'm gonna give like 20%.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. For me, it doesn't work like that.
You can't just buy your
Yeah.
you can't buy your faith.
No. Yeah.
That's really interesting, because I think particularly in the Philippines, but this is the case in so many places, like this is the case in so many countries that we've worked and lived in. I think a lot of people feel a lot of pressure to that money and faith is so intricately tied, and they feel a lot of pressure to do that. And you're almost saying like they're not necessarily tied. And I think what's interesting, you said money, but you interjected and used the word generosity. And I kind of want to dig in there, because how you see it is like money and faith is, your money is just one of many, many different ways in which you can show your generosity. Right?
Yeah, of course.
So if you just don't have that money, you can still be a generous person.
Of course. You can be generous with your time,
exactly,
with your talent.
Yeah. And you know what's really interesting? And this is where, like, look, and full disclosure, so my sister is, a person of faith and a Christian. I am not. I'm agnostic. I'm not an atheist, but I'm agnostic. I I have faith. I'm just not necessarily sure it's ascribed to one entity per se. But one of the things that I really noticed, I was when I practice generosity, when I give generously particularly with my money, with my time and all of that, of course, I tell you, within like a week, all of these like money seems to come back to me. And I remember it was at the height of COVID. My husband and I were, we really wanted to do something for the community, because obviously a lot of people had lost their jobs, like day-to-day income. And so we made a pact that we were going to give about 10% of our income monthly to whatever needs was necessary in the neighborhood. So they'd set up food pantries everywhere. There were funds that were set up for certain type of people, industries that lost their job. And we're like, okay, like this is our version of tithing, right? Like we're going to give it away. And I was really shocked, because it's in the height of COVID. I did not expect to start making money during COVID, like a lot. And I don't know what happened. Like we just started, all of our investments started to do better. Like everything just started to do better. And I remember thinking, because I'd always had a very big scarcity mindset, really, really scarcity mindset. And part of the reason why I wanted to give away was because I was like, I got to get out of that mindset. And the best way to stop a mindset is to do the opposite. I never expected that it would come back like tenfold. And you're nodding right now, because I'm imagining, like, I've seen my sister, by the way, you guys, is one of the luckiest people in the world. Talk about like not living without. She is the person who goes to a K-pop concert and wins at a raffle for free, right? Like this happens to you, and it happens to my husband also. All the time. And you guys are both so generous with your money and so generous with your time. And I just don't see those two things as coincidental. Really, they're the luckiest people. Like regularly, I think the both of you should be playing the lottery on a daily basis, because you'd probably win.
but playing the lottery is not, for me, it's not being a good steward of my money, because that's chance. So.
Exactly. No, but so I when I ask this question, can you still be a good practitioner of faith, whether it's a denomination or non-denominational person? I think it's really important to parse out what money really is. Money really is having a generous spirit. So trying to approach everything with that generosity of spirit, whether it's money, time, resources, talent, really, and not expecting anything back, I think can have a really significant shift on your mindset around your resources, right? So my scarcity mindset definitely was really, it's not gone forever, but like it was really helped by that kind of project I did, right? And it can really, and then it has the attendant impact of making everything else better, which is not, again, coincidental. A lot of it's because the more you give, the more people you make happy, and then they want to make you happy, and it becomes this really positive feedback loop. So I think that's really interesting.
It's actually biblical, you know.
Like there she goes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually biblical. It's in the Bible. It's in Luke, actually. For those are you, for you who are listening right now, it's in Luke 6:38. It says, "Give and it will come back to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over." So that's the exact verse. So yeah, that's about, you know, like generosity, and generosity creates more generosity.
It really does.
It's not, like as you said, it's not coincidental. It's not just, you know, like, oh, it happened by chance, but it's actually biblical. And I'm talking a lot about my Bible because that's how like I try to, you know, I'm not perfect, you know, I still get mad sometimes, but you know, like
she's pretty perfect.
it's part, I try to make it like part of my life, like every day. Like, which I also share my sister, hey, this is my verse for today. So yeah, it's actually in the Bible, like when you give and it will come back to you.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to that. My thought experiment of doing that during the COVID epidemic, I was really, really shocked at like how much we were kind of getting back. And at one point I remember thinking, am I just doing this as like a method of like return on investment? Maybe. But it's not so wrong either. But yeah, that was really interesting. So now the converse of that, right? So it's great to be really generous and really give really freely, whether it's to your church or to a cause or whatever. But what should we be wary of when it comes to our money and our faith? What should we be wary of?
When, you know, like like I mentioned earlier, when I think you mentioned it, like when you think that your money could buy your faith, or like if you're using your money to just, you know, like to just, okay, just give this money away because, you know, I'll do something wrong anyway, you know, like when you're using your resources to like penance for something that you think you did wrong, like you know, like there was a song, oh my god, I forgot, it's an old song, like dirty money on the left hand or something, and the priest shaking my right hand or something like that. That's the time when you should be like, you know, like wary about, you know, like your close open parenthesis faith and your money.
That's interesting. Why is that? Why should you be wary of that?
That's no longer arising from like a good perspective. It's actually, there's actually like a, for me, like there's actually a deceit already, like in your heart, like, you know.
The intention seems to matter a lot to you.
Yeah, of course.
When it comes to the role of money and finance.
Yes. And in everything, like I always ask for the why. Why are we doing this? So why am I doing this? Why am I not doing this? Or why? Like, so yeah, intention is pretty particular. I mean, pretty like important to me when it comes to, you know, like managing my finances, or, you know, like giving or spending it.
You know, I think that's really interesting that you bring up like the importance of intention as like your North Star in guiding you, because I think beyond just finance and faith, I think it comes with any financial decision that is made. You kind of have to ask yourself a little bit the why.
Yeah.
Like, well, why am I suddenly going to care about investing? Or like, why am I saving? Or why am I budgeting? You're only going to be successful if you really understand why you're doing it. And if you approach all of your decisions with that intentionality. I think that's an overarching theme a lot at Bixie, which is like, really like know your why.
Yes.
Because if you don't know your why, you won't be able to do the what.
Yes.
That's really interesting. So that being said, tip time. What are some tips that you have for managing our relationship with our faith? Our relationship of money with our faith. What are some tips?
Okay, so I'm going to give out maybe like 3 or 4 tips. Number one, be a good steward. Like,
Okay.
be a good steward of your faith, of your money, because like I said earlier, it's not yours to begin with. It's you were just entrusted. Whether that's 1 million pesos or $1 million, you were just entrusted with that money. And it's kind of responsibility to become a good steward for that money. And when I talk about, being a good steward, like how to spend it like wisely. You don't spend it on drugs, for instance, or like things that aren't really like like good for your health or good for your soul. So yeah, being a good steward. And number 2, practice generosity. Yeah. I've been living my life. I don't know, like my life is a product of like other people's generosity. It's not like I cannot say that I built my life myself. It's a lot of generosity coming from different people. And when I say generosity, it isn't just money. But of course, there's the money aspect, but there's also the time. People who mentor me, people who like give me like advice, people who like lead me even in my church, people who share their treasures with me, like they like whatever they have, and people who share their talent with me or like willing to share, hey, you might want to check this out. And I also want to do that. So aside from being a good steward, I also want to like live generously. It's not, and there's a common misconception when it comes to giving generously, like giving a lot of money. It's not that, like giving what your heart could give. That's being generous. It's not like, oh, I should give like 20,000 per week. And of course, like that's not sustainable. Maybe you can afford it for like a month or like a week or 2 weeks, but that's not sustainable. And when I want to be generous, I want to sustain it.
Okay.
So, whatever my heart could give at this point, maybe you could call me for free legal advice. That's okay. Or, like just time or like talent or just, like if I could give like a bit of cash.
Yeah.
And this is, I got this very important like tip, not really tip, like advice from one of our pastors, I think years ago, is planting in good soil.
What does that mean? Like,
for instance, somebody or like a child or a youth would come to you like and she or he would be very willing to go to school, this and that, but has is lacking on some things. And on the contrary, somebody would come to you and, hey, I need money for like because I'm just not keen to work. And like you choose from these people who would you like give, who would you like help. Is this person a good soil?
Yeah, that's by the way, that's an investment tip.
Really?
That's actually an investment tip.
Do I invest in somebody who's just like prancing around and like chilling?
You just said the most. That's ROI, my return on investment.
Or do I not invest? Do I plant or do I?
Well, it is an investment. Yes.
Yeah, on this child who's like wanting to have a good future or like. So yeah, plant on good soil.
That is really interesting.
And last but not least, this is like a very like general statement, but like honor the Lord, like honor the Lord in what with your wealth or whatever you do, because like
what does that mean?
I think it's a summary of the three, like like being a good steward, being generous, or planting in good faith. Planting in good soil. You honor, like I said, like you always have to have the why. Like, why am I spending this? It's not that, you don't spend to be happy. Of course I do. Like, I buy skincare. I buy nice things. But, like you honor the Lord, like with the fruits or it's actually biblical. You honor the Lord with the first fruits of your wealth. And by honoring, it means it's like a summation of what I mentioned earlier. Like being like a good trustee
Mm, mm,
of
mm.
your money, and being, like generous with whatever you have been entrusted with. And of course, like knowing when or to whom you would also plant that seed of generosity. So,
Mm. That last point that you make about honoring, the Lord, or some people might want to call it the universe, or, whoever you want to call it, just using like money as a form of honoring something.
mhm.
That's kind of touching on like sustainability. Like, use your money to honor the planet. Use your money to honor like, and that's what it's that all encompassing, right? Like whatever term you want to use, God, Lord, the universe. You're talking about use the money beyond just like, what do I feel like doing right now?
Mhm.
Use it for, ultimately for some good, right? Like use it towards something good. And I just want to point out that one of the other really interesting research distinctions between men and women when it comes to money is we tend to be more value-based in the type of investments that we want to make. So I think this point that you're making about like do it in honor of something is really, really resonates to a lot of women, because we're not just like, oh, we'll do the investment that gets the highest return. I know a lot of people think we're crazy for not doing that, but that's just the facts. Women tend to be more value-based, more inclined to say, oh yeah, that has ROI and it's good for the planet. Or like that has ROI and it's good for, humanity. So I think that that's a really good kind of intersection of our faith and our finances that I think a lot of us do anyway, but maybe we're just not proactive. Like, this is my investment philosophy, right? It has to be, I'm going to honor Mother Earth. There's another word, right? Like honor Mother Earth, honor the Lord, or something like that. I think what you're pointing out is like the intersection of faith and finance really provides the why to the what. And your faith is the why, and your finances is like what you're going to be able to do tangibly on the planet, because at the moment we need money to do things. That was really insightful. Thank you so much. I knew you were the perfect person to talk to about this.
I hope so too. But yeah, just like in any other things, in all things, not just like money, like and I always tell you this, like just like keep the faith. Just be faithful with whatever you have or whatever you want to have.
Fantastic. So I want to thank you again for taking the time to speak with us and share your journey of faith and finance. We learned 3 really important tips from you today, and I'm going to recap. The first is to be a good steward of your finances, be them large or small. Think of yourself as a good steward of your finances. The second one is to be generous. I couldn't agree more. We're both like shaking our heads in the studio at that, because my gosh, every single time I'm generous, I literally get like 10x. So I should probably, sometimes I'm like, I wonder if there was an experiment where I could just give everything away and see what happens. Really, it really does work. And so it doesn't matter. And generosity doesn't just mean money. It means time, resources, but most importantly, of your heart. Like, be generous hearted. And the third really important tip is planting in good soil. That's an investment tip. That's like, don't invest in something that's not good soil, right? Like, don't invest in some arid patch of land and some arid scheme, or invest in something that's actually on good soil. And I think your overarching paradigm, it's almost like your investment framework is invest in things that ultimately honor, your faith, whether that's your faith in the universe, your faith in a particular God. But that should be how the paradigm through which you're making your financial decisions. That's really insightful. Who knew? I thought, honestly, when I was like, oh, we're going to talk about faith and finances, I thought we are just going to like focus on a bunch of like scams and how to avoid them, which of course is also really important, but that is clearly not the paradigm through which we can use the tool of faith to really help us on our financial journeys. So I think that's really fantastic. So thank you so much for sharing those insights with us. But to all of you listening out there, don't worry, you do not have to jot them all down. Today's podcast will be available on the Bixie app, so go ahead and download that. in the Apple Store or Google Play. And we'll also have some reference materials to help you along with that journey. So please, as always, take action today. Join the Bixie movement, download our app, visit the website, join our weekly live events where we have experts talking about all aspects of financial management and investments. Do whatever you gotta do to make that money, honey. Please join us for our next episode of Bixie Speaks, where we will be exploring yet another really, really hot topic. But I'm just I'm gonna linger that there because it's a pretty sexy topic, and I'll leave you there. So check out the Bixie app. We'll announce our next podcast there. I'm your host, Rosali Gatau, CEO of Bixie. Over and out.